The betting business is booming across Ireland.
It's as simple as tap, tap, boom.
We chat to a family who have lost a fortune, personally and financially.
Like for us, thank goodness,
A family that didn't know when to quit. With now over 18% of adverts you see in TV and 2,500 websites all related to gambling, it's no wonder that gambling has become so addictive. It's so easy to get on it. We talk to a family who have lost both personally and financially. Well, Roy, at what age did your addiction start and what was your first bet?
My first bet was at about the age of 12 or 13. I remember it as well. I used to run about with an older group of guys and used to go in there to the bookies with them quite a bit. And one day, just started watching them do whatever they do, and one of the guys come over and said to me, "Why don't you do a bet yourself?" I said, "Well, I haven't a lot of money." And I said, "I don't really know what to do." He said, "Sure, I'll show you what to do." And he wrote the bet out for me, and I gave him the money, and he just gave me the docket to go up and do the bet. It was 4 horses that I backed on, and as I was watching each race take place, and the first horse win, the second horse win, the third one win, I thought, this is easy. The fourth one won, I thought, great, 4 winners. So I couldn't lift. I was able to do the bet, but wasn't allowed to lift it because I was underage. So the guy went up the hole and lifted the money, and it cost me 55p for the first bet. I can't remember exactly how much he gave me back, but I know it was over £16. Nah, that was a lot of money then, because you went back over 40 years. So I suppose if you're saying that my addiction began with my first bet, it probably did. So I'd say at the age of 12 or 13.
And how quickly did it escalate? Was it just a one-off and then it was a while later, or did it get a hold of you very quickly?
I think it had a hold of me from that first day, from that first bet. Because I can remember the first bet, so I think in life, if you remember something that happens, it's for a reason. It sticks with you for something, because lots of things happened to me as a young man, but never really stuck with me. But yet that did, I could remember that. So I think from the first bet, I was hooked, because I remember every day going to school and I kept my lunch money. And as soon as I got out for lunch from school, I went straight round the bookies, because in the end days, I didn't open till lunchtime, so it was straight round. I would have gambled on my dinner money, and then when I hung about, I would have been late going back to school because it hung about. It depended. If I got a winner, I would have been later. If I lost my money earlier, I'd have been back to school in time. But I don't think it really, at that young age, it didn't impact me much. And then had a bet. If it won, great. If it didn't, that was okay. I just went out and just done the normal things a 12 or 13-year-old would do at that time.
Now, when did it really kick in?
I think it really kicked in whenever I started earning money, whenever I had more money. Okay. And I realised, that it was starting to, I think there's a line that you cross between controlling it and it controlling you. And I think when I was younger, I had no opportunity to gamble because I hadn't the finances for it, but once I had a sort of an income, then I realised that it was starting to control me. So it really kicked in, I'd say, from the age of 16, 17 with my first job.
Can you explain to me how you felt? How did gambling make you feel?
It gave me freedom. There's a lot of things happening in my life at that time that I wasn't comfortable with. And I felt gambling was my go-to place. It took me away from the reality of life. While I was in the bookies, while I was gambling, I was concentrating, I was thinking on that. I wasn't thinking of the problems and the hassle of what was going on in my life at that time. So it made me feel good, made me feel wanted, made me feel important, made me feel part of something. And it was that wee group that was in the bookies, with something in common, we could have a conversation around it. So I felt part of a bigger picture. And just being in the bookies, had relationships with people that were there. So it gave me a bit of self-worth, confidence.
So if you lost, so I suppose if you win, you felt great, but if you lost, how did you feel?
Depending how much I lost.
Right.
Really. There's a key to it, whenever I lost, I just thought, tomorrow's another day. We'll start again. I can't lose all the time. I'll win tomorrow. If I won, it was sort of give away most of the money and kept enough to start me off the next day. So I think the actual winning went out the window. It was the taking part. It's more
Right.
important of the taking part in the winning and the losing. And always I found with the higher the high was, then the lower the low was. So there was always that buzz with the winning and the adrenaline, the fans and your neck standing out. There was always that if you were waiting. When I got to such a stage, sometimes I couldn't even listen to the race or watch it. I used to have to go outside and come back in again because I wasn't able to actually physically watch it.
Right.
You know, because there's that buzz of winning. It was just the taking part, I think, was the bigger part in the winning.
Hi Maggie, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it was like growing up with your daddy's gambling addiction.
So I grew up in Belfast with my mum and dad, and I have a younger brother called Robert. And growing up for me, it would have been tough with my dad's gambling addiction. That would have left an atmosphere in our home because at the weekends we didn't know if my dad was going to come home with his wages or without his wages. Some weeks he came in and ate nothing for working all week. So of course my mum was really upset about that. So there would have been an atmosphere in our home of them arguing all the time.
So whenever you were at school and say on Friday you were coming home for the weekend and you knew that your daddy had got paid, were you scared to come home?
Yeah, sometimes there was that element because you don't know what you're coming home to. If my mum obviously would have knew at 5 o'clock on a Friday where he was. If he didn't come home at 5 o'clock, then she knew that was him away, and he was probably in the pub and in the bookies as well. So we knew then, like on a Friday, that what the weekend was going to entail, you know, because he was gone then, and then he'd came home probably at the early hours of Saturday morning with no money and drunk. So yeah, it was a nightmare, to be honest.
And what, like being in the home, like were you scared being in the home with your daddy having that addiction?
Just scared of the atmosphere, I suppose, scared of my mum and dad's relationship, what that meant, because it wasn't good because of the addiction. Did it mean they were going to separate? There was always that. Would my dad get put out and then would we see him again? It was that kind of fear, you know, of again the unknown, not knowing what the weekend would entail.
Thank you, Maggie.
Pamela,
Hello.
were you aware of Roy's gambling addiction whenever you met him?
I wasn't aware that he had an addiction, but I knew that even as a wee boy he would have played a game called pitch and toss, and that was like up the entries with other boys, just having a bit of fun, throwing money and, you know, trying to win that. And I also knew that he went in there to the bookies, so he would have went to the bar and then into the bookies, into the bar and back and forward. But it didn't seem a problem. We were both very young at that stage, and it really didn't seem to be a problem. I just thought he's just doing a wee bet or watching a horse race or something like that. So at that stage, no, I definitely didn't think it was a problem.
And were you ever worried about how his gambling addiction would affect the children? You know, because children look to their parents just to see, you know, and sort of follow their footsteps. Did you ever worry about that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think I worried about many things about the children, and that my own mother had struggled with alcoholism, and so as I was journeying through that and remembering the impact on me as a wee girl and how that affected me, that thought continued to go through my head that I really didn't want my kids to suffer the way that we had. So that was very strong inside me. I think not having money and like genuinely not having money for food sometimes and having to borrow money, that impacted me. That, you know, how do you do this? How do you put food on the table? That kind of thing. And just the aggression in the house as well, and our behaviour, both of our behaviours, because I had been addicted to alcohol too. So both of our behaviours really was something that probably helped me to get to the point for me myself, or really wanting to change, really to save the kids and to help them.
After speaking with Roy and his family and seeing all the problems they went through personally and financially, is that the life you want to live?